Hello everybody, my name is Krista and welcome back to Adventures in Metaphysics. Now, my favorite part about the months changing is getting to see everyone's favorites videos. So I thought I would try my hand at one and share some of my favorites from the month of February. So to get started, I'm going to show, I guess, just some random favorites. I think we'll start with books. So my first favorite is a book that I am not anywhere done reading yet. I have a bit of a trouble focusing on reading, but I'm really excited to have it and to keep on reading because I love it so far, and that is The Last Unicorn by Peter S. Beagle, which I haven't read before and honestly didn't hear about until maybe a few months ago. I don't know what rock I was living under, but it's really, really fun so far, and so I'm so happy to finally be getting a chance to read it. My second book favorite is my first book of quantum physics. So this is a book that I ordered for the children's room at our library. I'm a children's librarian, so of course I have a special place for children's books. But what I really like about this and about all of our nonfiction section is that it's really great not just for children, but for anyone looking to get sort of an intro into a topic that you've never experienced before. And quantum physics is certainly one I have not even approached. But I just kind of got an interest for it, especially once we got in this book, and Rachel and I were talking a bit about it at work, and I just realized I really want to know more, but I don't know where to start. So a children's book is always the best place, in my opinion. It just gives a really great introduction that isn't too complicated, since it is meant for smaller children, but I think everyone could benefit from starting off with a children's book. So this one's been really, really fun to start off with, and I'm excited to look for more. But this is my first book of quantum physics. Oh, I didn't say who it's by. Shaddad Qaid Salah Farron. This is a really good one. The publisher is Button Books. So that one is definitely a favorite. And I think that is all for my book favorites of the month. All right, next I'm gonna go into what I'm gonna call my thrift store finds. I am a huge, huge thrifter and antiquer, as you can tell by all the knickknacks on my shelves. I'll give a better look. I really enjoy finding all of my decor at thrift stores or antique stores, and so I end up there quite often. So I want to show my favorites from this month, my favorite finds. And the first one is something that I've been meaning to hang on my wall but have not done it yet. And that is this really pretty wooden picture with all these birds painted onto it. I love, love, love bird watching, and these are all ones that I can see right in my area, which is really exciting. I love that. I've already seen, I would love to get a bluebird, but I've not, but we've got some robins already. Definitely, we've got a cardinal couple, and it's so cute. I hope they nest nearby, I don't know, but I'm really excited about this one, and eventually we'll hang it on the wall when I get the patience to do so. But my second find, my second and last one that I'll show, is this little owl bell. Is that not the cutest thing you've ever seen? It doesn't, it has a good ding. Sorry for everyone with headphones, I might have just blasted your eardrums, but I just think this is the cutest little bell. For some reason, the thrift store I go to always seems to have a really big selection of bells, which I've not happened upon before, but I have this one and a couple of other ones. Actually, you can see one right here. This one has little butterflies on it. I love this one too. So I've kind of accidentally started a bit of a bell collection just by going to this one Savers near me. But that is my last thrift store find of the month. All right, staying in the, I guess you could say, randoms category, I thought it would be fun to show my favorite recipe of the month because I really, really love cooking and finding new recipes and trying new foods. So I thought it'd be fun to share something I've tried this month. And that is Cajun gumbo, which I have these super, super cute recipe cards from, her Instagram is Taryn Draws. She's on Etsy. The Etsy shop might be the same name, but it's this cute little gardening badger and mouse with these mushrooms. I'm hoping to get some more because I'm almost out, but these are my favorite recipe cards to write on. They are just the cutest. Anyway, Cajun gumbo. So I've loved this recipe for a while, but my boyfriend and I have been sort of toying around with what we put in it, choosing what we like, what we don't like. So we've really veered off the original recipe we found to make our own that admittedly we have been eating almost every other week, I think. It's the perfect thing to make at the beginning of the week, and you'll have it pretty much throughout the week for your lunches or your dinners. It's really good. So we've sort of made it our own by, instead of shrimp, which is usually in gumbo, neither of us are huge seafood fans. So we've taken that out, but we've added in peeled potatoes. So in the last hour of cooking, I usually leave this sort of simmering on the stove with the chicken thighs and andouille sausage. Sometimes I'll get the chicken version of that, just depending on what my store has, but that will simmer with the broth and vegetables for a few hours and the spices. But the last hour, I put in a bunch of peeled and cubed potatoes and let that sit in there until that hour is done, and then we eat it over white rice, and it has been just the most delicious thing. It really has. So that is definitely a favorite recipe of the month. Now, oh, I don't know if I want to do this now, but, well, I started. So I guess my other kitchen related thing, but we're kind of going into decks a little bit, is before I've started cooking my meals, I've really loved using my Herb Crafter's Tarot as well as my new Green Witch Oracle to either pull cards to get a message about the recipe I'm making or the dinner I'm making, or especially with these Green Witch cards, they each have a different herb or ingredient. So I'll look for some of the things that show up in my recipe and look at the keyword and see what they're good for. So for example, with that Cajun gumbo that we put potatoes in, I'll find this card, keep it out, and know that that meal could be really good for when you need grounding. And that has been so much fun to add to cooking. I mean, I love cooking to begin with, but it's just added this really fun, magical element to see the correspondences of something that I'm already making. Not necessarily going into cooking looking for a certain purpose per se, but finding out what's already in there has been super fun. And the Herb Crafter's Tarot lends itself really well to that as well. Mostly with the spices and things like that are in there, but let me see if I can find an example of something I've used recently. I know there is a cinnamon card in here. Oh, okay, here we go. We'll use ginger. I tend to use ginger in cooking a lot, so this one comes out. So if I don't want to do I will do a regular tarot pull sometimes, but I also like using Herb Crafters to pull out the ingredients that are in the recipe, like I said. So for example, if I'm cooking something with ginger, this is the 8 of Fire or the 8 of Swords. So I know that when I'm cooking that meal, if I'm thinking about 8 of Swords energy, it could be something really good for clarity or pulling myself out of a feeling of stuckness, a self-imposed stuckness. So that has just been a super, super fun thing to add to cooking, and I just wanted to share. Yeah, so I think that is that's the only recipe I had to share today. All right, my last non-deck favorite, and then I promise we will start talking about the decks, is the fact that I launched my Etsy store this month, which was really, really exciting and a good challenge for me. It's not something I ever imagined I'd be able to do or want to do, but I sort of took the reins this month. I was getting the Chariot card a lot now that I think about it. Anyway, I kind of took the reins and decided this is something we're gonna do. So my Etsy store has handmade tarot bags. I crochet them, and these have just been really fun for these to make. I started out making these obviously just for my own decks and for my friends to have for their decks, and it's just sort of evolved from there, and I've had so much fun getting to be creative and think about what colors could go with what decks. And it's just been really fun coming up with different designs. This bag design actually spurred from an accident from when I was first starting to crochet. I was trying to make a pot holder, believe it or not, and totally did something wrong, went too far somewhere, but realized it was starting to make this bag shape, and just started thinking like, hey, if I kind of just finish this instead of scrapping it or pulling it all apart, I might be able to store one of my decks in here. Let's try it out. And the design kind of blossomed from there. Something I've been really excited about with these though is starting to add these little charms for the tassels to really add some more character. So this is my favorite I've made recently. It was a little kind of mermaid inspired bag. It was inspired actually by my Tempest Tarot. So if you've ever seen that one, this one really, the colors reminded me of that. So I have these cute little, oh, is it gonna focus? Let's see if we go to up close. There we go, okay. We have these little mermaid tails, which I just think it adds something really fun to have all these different kind of tassels to match with the bags as well. I also really like these butterflies. Those have been really fun. So another aspect that has been fun about that shop, oh, I'll show actually, hold on, I'm getting ahead of myself. A new design that I've come up with in the past week or two is these larger deck bags. And what prompted me to try and design something like this was I have the Forest of Enchantment deck, which is put out by Llewellyn. And if you have a Llewellyn deck, you know they come with those guidebooks that are much bigger than the decks. So you get it in this big box and the deck is sort of smack in the middle, lined with like plastic or something. And you get this really big guidebook, which they are very nice. You get the full colored pictures and it's kind of like having a book. The only thing about that is a lot of my other decks where the guidebook can fit in the box, the guidebook can stay in the bag with my tarot cards. So that wasn't possible with these Llewellyn books. So I was trying to think of a way to be able to store them together and came up with this design where it's kind of a two-pocket thing, more of like a bigger pocket, small pouch. And so the book fits right in here in this main pocket, and then I've got a smaller pocket stitched to the back that will fit your cards. So I was so excited to be able to come up with that and get to be creative. Sometimes I don't give myself enough credit for being a creative person. I like to sometimes think I'm not, but it's been really, really fun to get to explore that side of myself through this Etsy shop. And one last thing I have to say about it is that I had the coolest experience when I launched this shop. Holly Audley, who is the creator of my favorite decks, the Teeny Tiny Tarot, the Mini Divvies, and I have the Bonaventure Cemetery. I love her artwork. I'm such a big fan of her. She is just the sweetest woman ever. She reached out and offered to make a logo for the shop, which, saying it out loud, I still can't believe it. But it was so cool. It was just the coolest experience ever. We got to chat about, you know, sort of where I meant to go with the shops and things I liked, and she came up with the best design, and I got it on these little index cards. So this is the logo that Holly came up with for the shop, which I realize I haven't mentioned the name of it. It's called Crochet Witch Wears on Etsy. But this logo is just so special. She really went above and beyond, and it was so kind of her to do that. We've got our crochet hook, a wand right here. Then we have some holly leaves, which are it's just a plant I really like, and so it's something I wanted included. And then we have these 3 tarot cards, which are the world. We have one that shows the minor arcana, and in the middle we have the Fool card, which is a really, really important card for me, especially in launching this shop. The Fool card was coming up a lot for me and usually does come up as kind of a significator, so it was really cool that she was able to include that in this logo, and so I am just forever grateful to her for making this. It was the coolest thing. I'm gonna start gushing, but that should be the last of my non-deck favorites, so let's get into the decks. Okay, first I'm gonna talk about the decks that I've been loving using this month, and another favorite I have to share is the new way I have of displaying my decks. So I originally had them all put away in a drawer, as I've mentioned, but a few weeks ago just got a little itch to rearrange everything. And so I emptied out these shelves here so that I could put my decks on full display. I realized that what I was doing before, which was keeping a majority of my decks in a drawer and then pulling out a couple to use each month, just wasn't working for me. I have ADHD, so not being able to see something means it is literally gone. I have almost no sense of object permanence. So it was making me a little bit anxious, thinking, I've got all these decks and I've set this weird rule for myself, which at first was a good thing. It worked well. My point was to be able to work more closely with sets of decks at a time, but I just found after a while of doing that, it wasn't working anymore. So I realized, those were parameters I set for myself. I can change it whenever I want. So I decided to pull everything out and put it on full display. So that way it is impossible for me to forget about a deck because they are smack right in my face. And I have to say it's been working really, really well. I've kind of enjoyed a lot more and found that I'm working with a lot more different decks, strangely enough, when in the morning I can go over to my shelves and just sort of get a feel for what I want to use for the day. And I've been a lot more creative with my pairings and, what's gonna work for what spread. Instead of limiting myself to a few, I figured, why not just enjoy my whole collection? It's not huge. I can reasonably use all of them, so if it wasn't working for me, then why keep doing it? So anyway, that's a long way to say I really like this new way of storing my decks, I guess you could say. So now I will talk about the decks I've been enjoying for this month, as I said probably 5 minutes ago. So the first deck I want to talk about is my Monstero, which actually I did get my hands on a full-size edition. I said I would, and I did do it. It's my first time having 2 copies of the same deck, but I'm excited because my travel size gets to go to work now, and I think that's gonna be super fun. Anyway, so technically, the deck I was working with was the travel size, but this is the copy I'm gonna keep here at home, and I love getting to see the pictures bigger. It's been so exciting. But this deck has really, really surprised me in all the best ways. I know I talk about it a lot, but I just can't say enough good things. It's something that I initially thought I was gonna kind of be able to connect more like in an inner child way, and it does work for that, but I actually find it does so much more than that. It has such a bigger purpose, it feels like, to have in my collection, something that when I am gonna do just a random reading throughout the day for me, or there's some sort of feeling I need to work through, or a situation I'm nervous about, or anything like that, this is always the deck I reach for, and this one tells me like it is. As cute as these monsters are, they don't hold back. So it's just been a really, really cool one to add to my collection, and probably the most surprised I've been by a deck in a really long time. So that was very exciting. So that is my Monstero deck. My next favorite is one I was looking at for so long, years I feel like, and just never picked up, and finally did at the beginning of this month, and that is the Happy Tarot, which I love this little bag I made for it and how colorful it is. It just fits the feeling of this deck so well. So this is one I held off on because I initially did not like the bordered version of it. Low Scarabeo borders can be really, really hit or miss for me. A lot of the times more of a miss, but not always. It works for some of their decks. Like I have the Tarot of the Gnomes, and the borders really work with that illustration style. This one, it didn't. It had bright colors, it's fun. Having that sort of serious edge that a border is going to give, in my opinion, just didn't really work well. So that's why I held off on it at first, and then they came out with a borderless version, which is the one I have, obviously. But still I held off on it, and I don't know why. I think I was worried that it wasn't gonna give serious readings. Not that I don't think tarot can be fun. I am a huge believer in play with tarot. But I don't know, something about buying a deck, what I thought would be only to play, didn't totally feel right. So I think that's why I held off on it. And this is another one I was very wrong about. It really surprised me. This deck gives really great readings. I find it's a bit softer, doesn't hit as hard as the Monstero can. It doesn't always, but it can. So that is really nice for that, but I love using this one if I'm gonna pull tarot cards before bed or if I'm doing it right in the morning. This is another one that's really fun to bring to work. I think because I work in an environment where there are so many small children, bringing in decks that feel very childlike or inner child-esque feels really nice. It makes sense to me to bring in, so this is one that I really love to bring if I'm gonna pull cards at work. And it's just so fun. It's so much fun, and I was so wrong about it. I'm so glad I have it now because it was really awesome to work with this month, and I'm really excited to use it in the summertime, which is when I really kind of pull out all the stops with my colorful deck. So that's gonna be a really fun one. I'm excited. So my next one, which one do I want to do? I think we're going to talk about the Northern Animal 2nd edition. This one I've not gotten to work with too much, but I'm counting it in my decks I loved working with because of how much I love the 1st edition, and I almost did like when a new movie's coming out in a series and you watch all the movies before that, you rewatch them before the movie premieres so that you're kind of re-caught up. I feel like I did that with Northern Animal Tarot, where I used my 1st edition for what felt like weeks. Constantly I was using it while I was waiting for this one to come because I knew it was kind of on the horizon that it was gonna come to me. So I feel like I was almost like reacquainting myself, which I didn't need to because that is one of my favorite decks. I use it all the time, but anyways. This one has been so fun to use though, getting to compare it to my 1st edition and see how they're similar, see how they maybe read differently, has been really interesting. And I mean, the updates on this are just amazing. The colors, the patterns, the new backgrounds, just so good. It's so good. So I was really excited to get this in this month and get to start working with it. And it's interesting because I do kind of feel like I have this inclination that I don't think I'm going to keep both forever. It's not anywhere near time for me to part with one. I don't think I possibly could because I don't know which one I feel more strongly about at this point. It's sort of this battle between I love the updates of this one, but feel so emotionally attached to the 1st edition that I don't know what I would do. So it's not happening anytime soon, but starting to get this feeling of, I don't think I'm gonna need both forever. So it'll be really interesting to see kind of how that turns out. But I've loved working with it this month, and that's the Northern Animal 2nd edition. So my last deck that I've loved working with this month is actually this was my first try at this bigger pocket bag. And this is my Art History for Past Lives tarot. And this has been so different and fun to work with. This comes with this big booklet that's really cool because, well, let me show some of the cards first. I'm jumping the gun a little. I'm just getting excited. So this deck is really cool because it uses, historical art, which I am a huge fan of. And it gives you the name of the painting, which I love, the tarot card name, but also the interpretation of how this artist viewed that card in a past life lens. Now, past life reading is not something that I'm super familiar with. I got this deck in order to explore that more, and it's just been so much fun. It's been so interesting. So, for example, the Fool is you. So when that one pops up, the message around is pertaining to you yourself. But we have all different things. We've got places, kind of situations, people. So the Nine of Wands is prison. We've got, death is death. Five of Cups is loss. It goes through all these interesting things and all these cool keywords like brother and places. We have like India. It's just so interesting. And what I really love about it is the guidebook goes through the cards, giving you an interpretation based both on the past life association as well as a, usual tarot interpretation. So you really can use this deck in both ways, all of the above at once, whatever is going to work. So I find that it's really helpful for not getting stuck in doing one or the other because you get both put right out in front of you. So if I'm trying to do a past life reading and I pull a card, say I pull this one where it's like 18th century, and just for some reason it doesn't make sense with the other cards pulled, or I asked a question that wasn't asking about time period, I'll consider that. If it still isn't making sense, then I can just move on to, what does Eight of Wands mean? How does that play into it? And then maybe that relates. So it's just been really fun to explore this new thing. Because I've never really looked into it before, never thought about using tarot in that way. So this has been a really, really fun tool to use. And this is the Art History Tarot for Past Lives, put out by Red Orchid Publishing. So my last category of things that I wanted to show are the decks that I'm really, really excited to work with in the month of March. So some of these decks are very new, like came in this last weekend kind of new, and some aren't so new, but I've just not gotten the chance to really work with them yet. So like I was saying, I'm kind of off the picking a set of decks for the month train, I guess you could say, but I do still try to keep in mind what's newer in my collection, what have I not really taken the chance to work with yet, and keep that in mind when I'm picking my daily decks out. And of course, when you have a new deck, you are going to want to use it right away, so it's not really a hard thing to do, but these are the decks I'm really excited about. So the first one I want to show is one that came in this weekend, and that is the Playful Heart Tarot, put out by Zara from Kitten Chops. And this one got a bag made for it right away. As you can see, it's got this really fun rainbow one because that's exactly what this deck is. It is fun, it's rainbows, it's very inner child. So where the Monstero didn't totally end up fitting that inner child work slot, this one completely slid into that. It is colorful. It's got these, this is my favorite card, hold on. I didn't expect that to come up so soon, but this is my favorite card. I mean, it even says, look, embrace your inner child. I think that is just the cutest card. This deck comes with a lot of extras, which is really fun, but I mean, that strawberry hat, I'm obsessed with. I need to know where I can get one of those, if someone can make me one, because I would never take it off my head. That is just my favorite thing in the whole world. When I saw this card for the first time, I was like, oh, is that a strawberry hat? Like, how do I get one? Where can I find one? I'm just obsessed with that. It just, oh, it makes me so happy. Little strawberry hat. Anyways, I lost my train of thought a little bit. The colors are so fun. Oh, I know what I'm saying. The way that these are drawn, by no means am I trying to say that Zara is not a talented artist, because she is entirely a talented artist. But the way she draws her characters is reminiscent, I guess you could say, of how a younger child might draw them, or how they might color it in, choosing all these colors. I know when I was little, I would do exactly that. I'd color rainbows into things that didn't have rainbows, and choose these wacky colors and make things just fun and bright. And that's what this reminds me of. So it has just already felt like the perfect inner child work deck, and even for others, I'm just so excited about it. I just want to use it for everything. It's just so good, because it still has that serious reading quality, where there's still some cards that I pulled and I was like, oh, that makes me uncomfortable. I don't know how I feel about that. And that's kind of my marker with decks, of if I feel like I can still kind of use it for quote unquote more serious readings, however you want to think about that, is if it has cards that still kind of spark something in me. I kind of have an instant reaction. For me, it's the King of Swords in this deck. I don't know if it's going to come up anytime soon. Probably not. Now that I'm talking about it, it's going to stay hidden or something. Let's see if I can find it, though. Oh, it's not. Oh, here it is. Okay. This one. Even when I was watching a walkthrough, this one popped up, and I was like, oh, no. No. I don't know if I want that deck, like that one card. And I was like, Krista, the one card does not need to make your opinion on the whole deck. Like, let's think about why we had that reaction to this. So it's just been really, really interesting just to, I mean, again, I've had it for like 2 days, but it's just been so much fun so far. Anyway, so that is the Playful Heart Tarot by Kitten Chops, and I will stop babbling about that one because I've got a few more I'm excited to work with. The next one is my Pagan Otherworlds Tarot, which I got towards the beginning of this month, but I've only really gotten to use a little bit. Chosen to. as if I have a schedule or something. But I've really only worked with it a little bit this month, but I know it's one that is exciting to me. And I know there is so much symbolism in this. I got the guidebook to go with it, which if you're gonna get this deck, you totally have to get the book. You just have to. It's so good. It comes with these extra cards, and then it says glitter, which is unexpected in this deck. I loved that. But I'm really excited to start working with this deck. I love the idea of doing a deep dive with it. My one thing with deep dives is that I'm not exactly sure how that would work for me. Again, because ADHD. So choosing one deck and even thinking about using one deck for the week poses a little bit of danger, because the reason I like to have a variety and switch them around is because it keeps all of my decks exciting to me. When I'm not using them every day, it keeps them exciting, which I hope doesn't sound too silly, but deep dives I know involve you using them a lot for, say, a week, a month, and using it kind of as your only deck. So I need to figure out a way to get to know decks without doing that, because the danger that poses for me because of that is if I use only this deck for a month, there is a strong possibility I will never want to touch it again. Because I've always been that way. It's a really big thing with me. Like, I will get obsessed with a food, I'll eat it every day for weeks, and then all of a sudden it's just, please never put that in my face again. I don't want to see it. The smell is nauseating, like I've had it too much. And then I'll never eat it again. So, long ways to say, I really want to figure out a way to deep dive with this deck because I know there's so much here. There's so much here. But I'm trying to figure out a way to do that, you know, lends itself more to an ADHD brain. And if anyone is interested in me sharing sort of a tactic, I guess you could say, when and if I figure it out, I would be happy to do so. So just let me know if that's something that might be interesting, because it's something I've thought a bit about recently, is how I've sort of modified different practices and suggestions I've seen to myself, to what works for me, specifically because of ADHD. I think that it is really interesting, the things I've consciously and unconsciously done to make something work, and things I've stopped being hard on myself for. So if that is something that interests anyone, I realize I'm babbling right now. It's because I'm currently working through that thought, but just let me know. But I'm very excited to keep working with the Pagan Otherworlds because it's just very different from my other decks, and there's just really a lot of symbolism hidden in it, and I'm just excited to figure out a way to get to know that better. But that is the Pagan Otherworlds. The next deck, I've got two more. The next deck I'm really excited to work with is the Majestic Earth Tarot, which I still can't believe I have this in my hands. I got this through a bit of a tarot trade, and like I'm still floored. I had a copy of the Fat Folks Tarot that just, it just wasn't really resonating with me, purely because of the fact that there was multiple artists. And I'm still happy that I backed that deck on Kickstarter. They donated all their proceeds to Trans Lifeline, which I just thought was the coolest thing. So I have no regrets at all for purchasing the deck, and it was really a cool one to work with for a little while, but I just knew someone else was going to appreciate it more. But I had no idea, honestly, that it was out of print. I hadn't looked into it, so when I put it up on a sale trade group, someone offered this, and I still can't believe it. Anyways, so this is the Majestic Earth Tarot, which uses all artwork, or mostly artwork, from the Hudson River School, which is one of my favorite topics and schools of art, I guess you could say, in all of art history. I just think it's the most beautiful artwork. And again, it's another one that would be a good deep diver once I figure out how to do that. But what I love about this deck is that you get the name of the card and you get 4 keywords, as well as the elemental association and the astrological one. So you can just pull one card and you're learning so much. And the guidebook is really great as well. So this is definitely one I am super excited to keep working with. And again, it's just still blows my mind that I even have it. And it's such a beautiful one. I am so thankful to have it. So that is the Majestic Earth Tarot. And now I will get to my last one, as now I've been talking forever and I'm getting to that point where I am just spewing. And that is the Soul Cards, which I've never had. And I got a copy recently off of eBay. Very used. It's the box is falling apart, but that's okay. And I bought this because I was interested in using it in conjunction with my Art History for Past Lives tarot to do past life work or mediumship, stuff like that, because it's a very intuitive deck. There's no keywords, there's no meanings, just images that really do work well to kind of evoke something. Whenever I pull these cards, especially around other, specifically tarot cards is usually what I do. It always brings something up, and it's been really interesting to get to know. I have already purchased a used copy as well that's coming of Soul Cards 2, and I think I'm going to combine the decks and make it just a big super deck, and I'm very excited about it because I used this a couple times and already I was like, I love this and I need more cards. This is so awesome. So I'm really, really excited to keep using this in the month of March. But that is all of my February favorites. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope I didn't ramble too much, but I always have so much fun making these videos, so thank you so much for watching. As always, I will put all of our links down below. I'll put a link to my Etsy shop as well if you are interested in seeing any of those bags that I've shown. I tend to do a little shop update every Sunday, so if you favorite my shop, you'll get notified when I add new things. And I also have options for custom bags. If you have a specific deck and something in mind, I would be happy to work with you on that. I think it's so much fun to get to personalize things. But anyway, I hope you all had some fun hanging out with me, and I hope you have a wonderful start to your March.